Welcome back to the ADP Average Dudes podcast. I'm your Average Dude host, Tanner Ward, with your Week 8 preview. I will be going through every game on the Sunday, Monday night slate to get you ready for your fantasy contest, where I have every relevant player ranked, who is a start, a sit, and a stash. To see my rankings, go follow us on X or Twitter at ADP Dudes. You can also tweet us all of your start sit questions. You can find our YouTube page at Average Dudes Podcast. Search that at Average Dudes Podcast on YouTube to find even more fantastic content. All right, let's jump into the Week 8 preview here. No buys this week, so a full slate of games ahead of us. We start with the Patriots at Dolphins. Dolphins minus 9.5 at home here. 47 is the total. Not even halfway through the season, we get to see the second matchup of these division foes. In the last meeting, the Patriots really focused on keeping one of the NFL's most explosive offenses from detonating, basically inviting them to run the ball all game. That led to Raheem Mostert getting a season-high 18 carries, while Tua had his second lowest scoring week so far this season. His lowest was actually last week. Let's hope Mike McDaniel has a formula like Walter White this time around and says, Tua, we have to cook. In case anyone forgot, the Patriots are also playing this game because I just spent the whole time talking about the Dolphins. They just had a huge win over the Bills last week. In response, Mac Jones has skyrocketed up my rankings from 26th out of 26 to 22nd. Ramondre Stevenson remains at RB2. He comes in at 20, while Zeke has ate his way to the top 50. He is up at 47. Kendrick Bourne has had two decent PPR weeks in a row. He's still so hard to trust. He's wide receiver 43, and I am avoiding the New England tight ends in this one. Despite the results in the first matchup, Tua still a must-start. QB6. Raheem Mostert logged a limited practice after he did not practice Wednesday. His first time on the injury report this season. So just check Friday practice reports just to make sure that Raheem Mostert is good to go. Assuming he is good to go, he's my RB9. Jeff Wilson is 45. Wilson would have flex appeal, obviously, if Mostert is not 100% and is a must start if Mostert doesn't go, but looks like he will. Tyreek 2K remains the wide receiver 1. Jalen Waddle at wide receiver 16. You are starting him. Avoid the Dolphins tight ends as well, if you can even name any. The Dolphins DST is 16. The Patriots are 25. Jets at Giants. Giants 3-point home underdogs here. 36.5 is the total. Really unfair for the NFL to put this game at noon when the Jets have to travel all this way to play the Giants. What's really unfair is our eyeballs having to watch these two offenses this season. All right, that might have been a little uncalled for, but Daniel Jones has logged 2 limited practices this week. I'm not looking to start him, even if he goes. He's not ranked. Saquon is a start. He's been getting a ton of work since he came back the last 2 weeks. He's my RB7. No Giants wide receivers were ranked, but I would still be looking to stash Wan'Dale Robinson. And I said it last week, as long as Darren Waller suits up, you are starting him. He rewards you with a touchdown last week. He is tight end 6. I typically write up the road team first, but since they share a stadium, I guess it doesn't matter. Let's go to the actual road team now, the New York Jets. Zach Wilson takes over the great honor of being my 26th ranked quarterback out of 26. It worked out well for Mac Jones last week, though. Breece Hall, he is a smash start this week. I'm very excited about him. He's my RB5. Garrett Wilson, he is a high-end wide receiver 2. Or he has high-end wide receiver 2 upside in this one, but I have him ranked just outside that wide receiver 2 range. He is 26th. Tyler Conklin has been giving a nice PPR floor for tight ends lately. He is 20th for me at tight end. The Jets DST is 3rd. They're a must start, while the Giants are 13th. Jags at Steelers. Steelers plus 2.5 at home. 41 is the total here. A rematch of the infamous 2017 divisional round 45-42 shootout, where Blake Bortles was able to outlast the trio of Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown, which is ultimately the final time those three shared the field together. I might be going out on a limb here, but I do not think we will be seeing 45-42 in this one. Trevor Lawrence has been limited with a knee, but should be good to go for Sunday. He is my QB 10. I am starting Goff and Kirk Cousins over him. If you are curious about the rest of the NFC North, I do have Lawrence ahead of Jordan Love and Tyson Bagent. Travis Etienne has been a touchdown machine this season, RB4. Christian Kirk is still the wide receiver 1 of this offense until further notice. He is wide receiver 19. Meanwhile, Calvin Ridley looks to cash in his season receiving total under. He's my wide receiver 32. What an amazing first half he had in week 1. we'll never forget. Evan Ingram is tight end 5. Not that he has the upside of the other guys ranked 5th at their position. It's just that he's a tight end. Kenny Pickett is QB 23. He's a fringe QB 2 in Superflex. I do have Najee Harris ranked ahead of Jalen Warren this week. Najee comes in at 26, Warren at 28. Both are flex options. George Pickens is in a large wide receiver 2 tier. You can start him. He is 28th. Deontay's still a flex. I'm not that high on him, though. Wide receiver 39. No Steelers tight ends again while Freiermuth is out. The Steelers DST is 12. The Jags are 17. Let's go to Falcons at Titans. Titans 2.5-point underdogs at home. Nissan Stadium, 35.5 is the total in this one. The most exciting thing in this game might be an Arthur Smith and Mike Vrabel vest swap after the game. So keep your eyes out for that. If you've ever wondered what a big noon Saturday game of Iowa versus Iowa would look like, you're going to get a pretty good idea this Sunday. Falcons at Titans. Desmond Ridder is QB 25, one spot ahead of Zach Wilson. Although if I was starting a franchise today, I would probably choose Wilson. But honestly, if those were my only 2 options, I would probably just quit. Hopefully, Bijan is feeling better this week. I have him ranked at 0.03. No, wait, that was actually his fantasy total last week after no reported pregame injury. If he's good to go, which we will obviously have no way of knowing, he's going to be RB 16 for me this week. Tyler Algier is 39th. Flex if you are stuck. Probably shouldn't be a problem this week, though, with no buys. Drake London is a wide receiver 3. Don't blame me. Blame Arthur Smith's dumb mustache. He is 33rd. Kyle Pitts is tight end 10, and Jonnu Smith is tight end 2. If you combine them, they would be the overall tight end 2 in the league. I'd be so much happier if Pitts could just be a consistent top 5 tight end while I never have to mention Jonnu Smith's name. But I would also be happy if I won the lottery. I'd probably have the same odds. For the Titans, we could see both Malik Willis and Willis Levis. So that means no Titans quarterback should be started. King Henry is RB 14 while he's still on the Titans. Feels like he is either outplayed by Tajee Spears or he has 20 plus points. There's no in between. Tajay is RB 40. DeAndre Hopkins is wide receiver 42. Look to sit him with that Will Levis combo. Traylon Burks is back. He's talented enough to be rostered. Unfortunately, not going to play him, though. He's not that high of a priority with this current quarterback situation. Chigo Okonkwo not ranked. Titans and Falcons DST are back-to-back at 22-23. Don't play them. Texans at Panthers. Panthers +3 at home. 43.5 is your total. Second overall pick heads to play the first overall pick. As you can see by the spread, one team is already ahead of the others. The Texans are 3-point road favorites here. For some reason, and I have nothing to back this up, but it just feels like non-conference noon games in Carolina are just never high scoring. That could be completely wrong. It's just a gut feeling. Someone please let me know if I am wrong there. CJ Stroud has been a nice fantasy option this season. He's my QB 11 in this one. Damian Pierce is RB 22. This is the game script for him. Devin Singletary is 38th. Nico Collins must start, wide receiver 13. Tank Dell looks to be back this week. He's a flex if you need him, wide receiver 41. And Dalton no upside Schultz is tight end 12. Bryce Young is QB 20. He's ahead of Carr, Mac Jones, and Kenny Pickett for me. Chuba Hubbard, he's been outperforming Miles Sanders, but this looks, Miles Sanders looks like the latest victim of the free agent that gets paid then sucks. But with that all said, I do actually think Miles Sanders, I kind of feel like it's his week this week, so I'm ranking it accordingly. Sanders RB 29, Chuba's 33. Adam Thielen has sure turned the clock back. This is 2017 production we're seeing from him. He is wide receiver 11 overall, and he must start moving forward. I'm not sure if we are ever going to get to this point with Thielen. I'm not sure if we ever would have got to this point with Thielen without that Andy Dalton start. So, of course, Andy Dalton is to thank for all of this. I have no Panthers wide receivers ranked, and Hayden Hurst is tight end 23 of 24. Texans DST is at 18. Panthers are unranked. We head to the the Rams at the Cowboys. Cowboys -6.5 at home. 45.5 is the total here. Two big market teams. I'm sure the media just loves this week. In reality, it's a premier matchup of NFC quarterbacks who should be performing better for fantasy than they currently are. But what the hell? It's still going to be your ADP Average Dudes podcast game of the week. All right. So in this one here, Stafford is QB 14. Daryl Henderson, who was reverted back to the practice squad after the game last week, after leading the team in touches, if he is back up, which I'm not sure why he wouldn't be. I believe you get 3 call-ups off the practice squad. He would be the one I'm still starting. Royce Freeman may also get enough touches to be a flex option. Um, in this one, I have Henderson at RB 32. Freeman is 41. If you are starting both you are starting both Cooper Cup and Puka Nakua every single week, no doubt about it. Must starts. One has suffered each week in the last 2 weeks. It was Puka 2 weeks ago, I believe, and then Cup this past week. Both should find production more weeks than not. I think both can obviously be very good at the same time. So they're back to back in my ranks this week. They're both top 10. Cups at 7, Puka's at 8. So obviously, even if you have both rostered, which I believe I do in one league, start them both. Tyler Higbee dream is dead. No more than 3 targets and 2 catches since Cup has returned. He's tied in 22. Dak is QB 12 right behind CJ Stroud. He is ahead of Russ, Stafford, and Love. Tony Pollard is RB8, obvious start. CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 10. He is a wide receiver 1 that feels like his upside is easily capped. Brandon Cooks is the second wide receiver to start in Dallas. He is 46 for me. Jake Ferguson is tied in 11. He's ahead of Schultz, Meyer, McBride. He is behind Pitts. The Cowboys are my DST 4. Rams are 21. Vikings at Packers. Packers 1-point underdog at Lambeau Field. 42.5 is the total in this one. I can honestly say I'm going to be at this game, and I'm not excited about being at this game the way the Packers have been playing. This could be a real battle of the mids. Kirk Cousins is QB9, showed last week he can still perform at a QB1 level without Jefferson. Madison is RB30, Akers at 49. Despite the good matchup against the Packers' run defense, I don't think either is really going to get enough work to be a great fantasy option. Don't forget, if you have a Madison question, start Sid question, tweet us at ADP Dudes. Jordan Addison, he is a top 20 wide receiver with Jefferson out. He is at 14 for me this week. KJ Osborne, not startable, wide receiver 51. TJ Hawkinson, tight end 3. For the pack, I still like Love this week as a high end QB2. He's at 15 for me. Aaron Jones is going to be in the top 20 every week. He's healthy. He's at 19. Start him. AJ Dillon at RB 43. Sit him. The Packers wide receivers are outside the top 36 right now. Watson is the highest ranked at 40, Dobbs at 45. Reed goes unranked. Watson and Dobbs are still both flexible if you don't have a better pivot option, but they are tough to trust right now with the way this passing game is going. Watson, of course, always has massive upside, so you're probably still flexing him. If Luke Musgrave goes, he's tied in 17. He's on the injury report. Neither DST is a start. Vikings are 19. Packers are 20. Saints at Colts. Colts -1 at home. Yeah, Minshew impressed enough against that tough Browns defense that the Colts are actually favored at home in this one against the Saints. Carr is and will continue to be a sit, QB 21. Alvin Kamara is turning back the clock as well. He is the RB3 overall for me this week in PPR. Chris Olave, despite a slight traffic violation that resulted in arrest, he's still wide receiver 15. Just double check that he plays Sunday. But I mean, he has a teammate. We just mentioned him. He had an incident on video, and it took 2 years or 2 seasons before we saw any legal action take place with that. Michael Thomas and Rashid Shaheed are outside the wide receiver 3 threshold for me. Kind of like the Packers, though. They're still flexible. They're still kind of in that tier. Thomas is wide receiver 44, Shaheed at 50. Taysom Hill is tied in 19. He has 3 options. He either has scored 2, scored 8, or 20 plus. That's it. So put him in your lineup if you want. I'm not going to. For the Colts, Gardner Minshew, QB 16. He's ahead of guys like Sam Howell, Geno Smith, Bryce Young, and Derek Carr. I said on last week's preview that I felt like Zach Moss had one more week where he was the higher ranked guy over JT. However, when I woke up that Sunday morning, I realized, no, this is going to be the Jonathan Taylor week. I adjusted on the rankings that I put out on our Twitter, which is why it's even more important for you to go and check those rankings out at ADP Dudes on Twitter. So JT is RB10, Moss is 34. Michael Pittman is wide receiver 23. Josh Downs, one of my favorite streamers this week, he's 31. No Colts tight ends. Saints are still DST 10. Colts are 24. Eagles at Commanders. Eagles are 7-point road favorites here. 43.5 is the total. I could probably skip this by saying start your Eagles, but let's go through it. Jalen Hurts is QB1 again. Swift is RB11. AJ Brown is the wide receiver 2 overall, and Dallas Goedert is tight end 4. All of those are easy must starts. Now, Devontae Smith, that one's a little bit trickier because he has not had the production these last few weeks here. I'm still starting him despite that lack of production, wide receiver 20. Sam Howell is QB 17. He takes too many sacks to be overly productive in this one. Brian Robinson, RB 36. This is not his game script, so I'm not looking to play him. And Antonio Gibson is RB 50. He's lucky to be ranked. Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 22. And Jahan Dotson, my preseason darling. Despite an okay week last week, he's not ranked. Logan Thomas, tight end 15. The Eagles are my DST 2 this week. Commanders not ranked. Browns at Seahawks. Seahawks -4 at home. 38.5 is the total here. Maybe we should have been able to predict that Deshaun Watson was going to miss some more games this year when he's not able to receive his personal attention that he's used to getting. More concerning in this one is the health of the Browns running backs and Seahawks receivers. PJ Walker, not in my top 26 this week, starting at quarterback for the Browns. Kareem Hunt is RB21 in the absence of Jerome Ford. Hunt did log a limited practice Thursday after a did not practice on Wednesday. As of now, I expect him to play. And like I said, I have him at 21. Pierre Strong is RB37. He's worth rostering till Sunday, just until you officially hear that Kareem Hunt is in. Amari Cooper, borderline wide receiver 3 in this one. It's a road game, backup quarterback. The total is dropped to 38.5. He's still a flex option, Amari is, but I'm not getting my hopes up on any real upside this week. He is the only Browns wide receiver I have ranked. David Njoku, tight end 18, pretty much from tight end 10 to tight end 20 is one giant tier. That's pretty much how it's going to be all season long. Geno is QB 19. I know this defense was somewhat shredded last week by Gardner Minshew. As of now, I think that game was more of an outlier. Geno is a sit for me still in a one quarterback league. If you are still starting your other Seahawks, regardless of the matchup. Ken Walker's RB12. DK is wide receiver 29, logged 2 practices this week so far. Tyler Lockett is wide receiver 35 for now. He just hasn't practiced yet this week, so definitely keep an eye out on Lockett's status. And JSN is wide receiver 47. He would go up in the rankings if Lockett is out. No Seahawks tight ends are ranked. Browns are my DST 7, while the Seahawks are 11. Both can be started. Ravens at Cardinals. Ravens, 9.5-point favorites on the road. 44.5 is your total here in the desert. Battle of the Birds. I, for one, would love to see the Ravens come out throwing again all over the place. Lamar finished with 357 yards, second most yardage in a game in his career. 3 touchdowns to go along with it. Let's see more of that. Lamar is QB4 this week. Gus Edwards, RB25. He's ahead of the Steelers guys, the Cardinals guys, Panthers guys. Justice Hill is RB42. Zay Flowers is my wide receiver 24. I do not have another Ravens wide receiver ranked. Mark Andrews is tight end 2. Let's hope that his second 2-touchdown performance of the year continues and he keeps showing up now that National Tight Ends Day is past. Only 3 Cardinals are ranked. Amari DiMercado is wide receiver 31, starting him over Chuba. It says Chubbs. I think I meant to write Chuba there. Zach Moss, Roshan Johnson. The biggest name I'm starting DiMercado over is Brian Robinson. Keontae Ingram, not ranked for me. Marquise Brown, wide receiver 34. He's a flex play. Trey McBride, now startable with Zach Ertz on IR. He's tight end 14. Big name to watch, though. Kyler Murray, designated to return. He logged a full practice yesterday. That would obviously be a big boost for all the other Cardinals I have previously mentioned. But with Kyler not back yet, the Ravens are my DST1 this week against Joshua Dobbs. Let's go to Chiefs at Broncos. Broncos plus 7.5 in Mile High, 46.5 your total here. Swift country. Let's ride. Patrick Mahomes is the QB2 just behind Jalen Hurts this week. Isaiah Pacheco, RB13. He is RB8 on the year. He just passed Devon Achane, which is kind of nuts. Pacheco is just 1.4 points behind Ken Walker, and he's 3 points behind DeAndre Swift. So he is having a very good year so far. Jerick McKinnon down at RB51. Rashee Rice, the only Chiefs wide receiver you can plug into your lineup. He is wide receiver 3 for me, 36th overall. He is a wide receiver 3 for me. Sometimes I get talking too fast. Don't realize the numbers I'm attaching there to their name. In case you are wondering, yes, Travis Kelce, he did come in as the tight end 1. Russell Wilson, QB 13. I'm starting him over Stafford, J-Lo, Minshew, Geno, and Russ was last year in his 2 meetings against the Chiefs. Russ was QB 3 and QB 5. However, this year, week 6, he didn't even break double digits, depending on your scoring format. He's still a borderline QB 1 for me, though. Like I said, he's 13th. Javonte Williams, RB 23. He is in that range with Dameon Pierce, Gus, Najee, all these running backs that I'm plugging into my lineup, but I'm not that excited about. Jaleel McLaughlin is RB44. Samaje Perine goes unranked. Cortland Sutton continues to be the highest ranked Broncos wide receiver. He's 30th for me. I am still ranking Jerry Jeudy for some reason. He's 49th. No tight ends for the Broncos. The Chiefs DST are a start. They are 9th for me. Bengals at Niners. Niners minus 3.5 at home, 43.5 your total here. I am surprised to see the Niners still favored in this one. That might flip if Brock Purdy officially gets ruled out with a concussion. If he does, it's going to be Sam Darnold starting in this one. Nothing like losing 2 games in a row against teams you should have beat, and now you have to face Joe Burrow potentially with a backup quarterback. That Seahawks share of mine to win the NFC West, that prediction, hey, it's still alive. It's still alive for now. Joe Burrow is QB 7. I think we're past that point now of having to worry about him as a starter for fantasy purposes. Joe Mixon, RB 17. He's a start. Not excited about it pretty much every week with me with Joe Mixon. Jamar Chase is wide receiver 6. It feels like this is the T. Higgins re-breakout week. I have him as a low-end wide receiver 2 and a start. He is 25th for me. You're sitting Irv Smith if anyone had questions about that. And if Brock Purdy is indeed out, Sam Darnold, who's taking the reins, would not be ranking him. CMC, he is the RB1 this week, obviously. Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver 17. He's still going to remain a wide receiver 2, even if it is Darnold under center. George Kittle, tight end 8. You're starting him. Again, doesn't matter who's a quarterback there. The Niners DST is 6th. The Bengals 14th. Bears at Chargers. Chargers minus 9 at SoFi. 46.5 is your total. What a Sunday night football game we have on tap here. Tyson Bagent against the Chargers. Bagent did shock a lot of people last week. He is my QB 24 ahead of Ritter and Zach Wilson. Deontay Foreman, RB 24. He's coming off a 3-touchdown performance. Roshan Johnson, though, should be back this week. He's going to eat into that workload. Roshan is 35th. DJ Moore, wide receiver 21, upside feels capped with Bagent in there. Not excited about Cole Kmet in this one either. Tight end 21. Justin Herbert, QB 5. He's an auto start. So is Eckler as the RB2. Joshua Kelly, he seems to just play better when Eckler is in. He's RB 52. Keenan Allen, also an auto start, wide receiver 4. Josh Palmer, wide receiver 37, low end flex option. Gerald Everett, he's still a tight end. He's 24th. Chargers DST is 15th. Raiders at Lions. Lions minus 8. 46 is your total here. That minus 8 is the closest spread for a primetime game this week. Bills were minus 8.5 last night, and we just said the Chargers were minus 9. Vegas does not seem concerned with that Lions performance last week. Neither should we. Jimmy G might be back this week. I am not going to start a Raiders quarterback. Josh Jacobs is wide receiver, or is the RB 15. Sorry. He clearly did not have the big week I thought he was going to have against the Bears. They just got demolished by Chicago. Jacobs is still a start. Devontae Adams, wide receiver 9. Jacoby Myers, wide receiver 18. Start both. Michael Mayer, tight end 13. He's a borderline start as well. Jared Goff, QB 8. Start him. Jahmyr Gibbs is the RB 6. Craig Reynolds is 46th. Probably do not need a fill-in this week because there's no buys. Amon-Ra, wide receiver 5. Toss-up, who to rank at 52 as my last wide receiver spot between Jameson Williams and Josh Reynolds. I went JMO, not really looking to start either. Sam Laporta is the tight end 7, and the Lions DST is 4. There we go. That wraps up the Week 8 preview. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of the ADP. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at ADP Dudes. Check out the YouTube page. Subscribe there at Average Dudes Podcast, what you can search to find that. When Week 8 wraps up, Matt's going to have your week 8 recap for you out on all platforms. So share the good word of the ADP. All right. That is it for this episode. Good luck, everyone, in your week 8 contests.